Hello, Scott. Welcome to Exposit The Word. Our question for today: what is theodicy?
So theodicy is it's a fancy word that was coined by a German theologian / philosopher named Gottfried Leibniz, and he was from the early 1700s, and he was the one that coined this phrase theodicy, and it comes from two Greek words, the Greek word for God, which is theos, and the Greek word for justice, which is dike. And so you throw those words together and you get the word theodicy. And it means, well, literally it means justifying God. And so the question is, how does one justify God's ways, God's character, God's being, God's purposes in the face of evil? Okay, so, and this is the question of how do we defend the claims of the Christian faith that says that God is sovereign, He is all good, He is all powerful, and yet evil exists in the world. So you have this trilemma. You have these three conditions that we see with regard to God and the world that seem to pose a problem. Right? So theologians believe that God is all powerful. And interestingly enough, both Arminians and Calvinists believe this, right? This is a misnomer when people say, well, Arminians don't believe that God is all powerful. They believe He is all powerful, but they say that the Arminian will say that God chooses to limit His power in order to respect the free will of His creatures. Therefore, He will not interfere with the exercise of their free will. Now, of course, there's a lot of problems with that, and that's why I wrote the book Free Will. What about free will? And I deal with those questions also in this book as well. But anyway, the point is that historically Orthodox theology has embraced that God is all powerful and He is all good. He is all benevolent, right? So if you have a God that is perfectly good and perfectly sovereign, perfectly powerful, then why would He allow evil in the world, right? And so this is a problem because we know there's evil. And as Christians, if we know that God is all good, He is all powerful, and yet there's evil, one of these things doesn't fit. Either we know evil exists, but most people don't deny that evil exists, right? So if evil exists, then it seems to put into question whether or not God is all good. Because we assume that if God is all good, that He would use His all-powerful nature to stop evil or prevent it from happening, but He hasn't done so, right? So maybe He's not all good. Maybe God, maybe as Christians, maybe God Himself is claiming that He is good, but that's an empty profession because look, there's evil in the world. Surely no good God would allow evil. Okay, or perhaps God is all good, but He's not really all powerful. Maybe He really can't stop this evil from happening. This is actually the position of the famous Rabbi Kushner, who says, "Why do bad things happen to good people?" And he basically argued. He said, "I can't believe in a God who is not all good. I have to believe in a God of love. I have to believe in a God of all benevolence. And therefore, because there's evil in the world, I have to conclude that God just can't stop it from happening. God is not powerful enough to prevent evil from happening or stop it once it has happened." Well, no self-respecting, Bible-believing Christian, no matter what theological position you hold, can go down that road because the Bible does not allow us to go down that road. God is all powerful and He is all good. Therefore, we have to address this question of evil head on.
Yeah.